The hangar was alive with noise, rotors whining, boots pounding, voices shouting into radios. But in the far corner, where shadows stretched across crates of spare parts and cables, she worked quietly, almost invisible. On her knees, sleeves rolled up, grease staining her hands, she tightened the last screw on a battered comms unit that no one thought twice about. It was routine work, nothing glorious, the kind of duty most soldiers overlooked as support, not the stuff of legends. But fate has a way of hiding its biggest stories in the smallest corners. And on that day, in that moment, when a Navy SEAL, the kind of warrior who carried fear and respect wherever he went, stopped, froze and raised his hand in salute, history revealed itself in a way no one expected. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the unseen strength of ordinary people, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Armed Forces Stories. Stories like this deserve to be told, remembered, and passed on. Her name was Claire Donovan, and to most, she was just a technician. At 32, she had been reassigned to base maintenance after years that few dared to ask about. She wore no medals in sight, no ribbons displayed on her uniform. She moved through the ranks of mechanics and radio operators like a shadow, someone who fixed what was broken and left before anyone thought to thank her. For Claire, it was easier that way. She had spent too many nights remembering battles she wished she could forget, too many mornings staring at scars she hid beneath her shirt. Once, long ago, she had worn a patch that carried weight and pride, a symbol that told the world she was among the elite. But life had other plans, and she had walked away, carrying both the honor and the ghosts with her. Her colleagues didn't know her story. They saw a quiet woman who worked harder than most, who kept to herself, who never bragged or complained. When someone asked about her past, she brushed it off with a smile and a change of subject. The truth lived only in the silence between her words, in the nights she spent alone staring at the ceiling of her small barracks room, replaying missions that ended in fire and loss. She had convinced herself she was fine with being forgotten. After all, she wasn't the kind of hero people celebrated. She wasn't even sure she deserved the word anymore. But that day in the hangar changed everything. Claire had been repairing a portable comms rig that a SEAL team needed before their next deployment. The men moved around her with confidence and swagger, their presence larger than life, their camaraderie filling the room with laughter and energy. She kept her head down, focused on wires and circuits, ignoring the way some glanced at her with indifference. She was, after all, just the woman who fixed things. Then, as she leaned back and wiped her hands, one of the SEALs froze mid-step. His eyes had locked onto the patch sewn inside her tool bag. A faded insignia she had long forgotten was visible. It wasn't standard issue. It was the kind given only to those who had bled, sacrificed, and survived in the kind of places most never returned from. His posture changed instantly. The easy grin slipped from his face, and his body stiffened with recognition. He looked at her not as a technician, not as support staff, but as something far greater. And then, in front of the entire hangar, he stood tall, brought his hand sharply to his forehead, and saluted. The noise around them seemed to fall away. Conversations hushed. Tools stopped clanging. Every head turned to see what had just happened. A Navy SEAL, one of the fiercest warriors alive, was saluting a woman most had overlooked, a woman with grease on her hands and tired eyes. Claire's breath caught in her chest. For a moment she wanted to shrink, to disappear, to deny the recognition. But the truth of her past was right there in the open, stitched into that old patch and burned into her scars. She rose slowly to her feet, her hands trembling as she returned the salute. The hangar stood in silence, soldiers and technicians alike suddenly realizing they were in the presence of someone they had underestimated. It wasn't just respect in that SEAL's gesture, it was reverence. Acknowledgement of battles fought and sacrifices made, the kind that left marks deeper than anyone could see. In the days that followed, whispers spread across the base. Stories surfaced of who Claire had once been, of the missions that had tested her beyond breaking, of the courage she had carried when others had fallen. She never spoke of them herself, never confirmed nor denied the tales. but her quiet strength began to inspire those around her. Young soldiers looked at her with new eyes. Mechanics worked with more pride, knowing their roles mattered. Even the SEALs, men who lived on the edge of life and death, treated her with a respect few ever earned. For Claire, the salute wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about being seen, about the validation that even in silence, even in shadows, her service still mattered. The years she had carried alone were no longer invisible, and though she had once believed her story had ended, she realized now it was still being written, just in a different way. Her past no longer chained her, it empowered her. She could stand tall again, not as a forgotten warrior, but as someone who showed that true strength often lives quietly, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And in that hangar, with one salute, the truth was undeniable. She was more than just support, more than just a technician. She was proof that the human spirit can endure, heal, and inspire even when it hides behind grease-stained hands and quiet footsteps. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Armed Forces Stories. These stories honor not just the legends of battle, but the hidden heroes who carry courage in silence until the world finally sees them. And before we close, I have one request. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Tell us what this story meant to you, or share a moment when someone's quiet strength inspired you. Your words might be the light someone else needs to hear today.